Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're looking at Operation Ramadan, which is part of the Iran-Iraq War. It's taken a while to do because each counter had to be carefully handcrafted. The corners cut to perfection, as you can see. I've taken a lot of pleasure in starting to research this. I haven't really finished, but this is Iranians 4.5 miles from Basra. It's the Iranian troops, 80,000 strong on the southern front. Of course, they didn't really know what was happening at the time. To Western sources, launched their attack from at least 3 separate points on Tuesday. So some of them penetrating as far as 6 miles in Iraqi territory. One Iranian officer, quoted by all local newspapers yesterday, said the first Iraqi defence lines were overrun in less than an hour. So, what it's sort of saying, and all these references are here. I've basically downloaded all these and stuck them into a big PDF so that I can read them. I haven't really read them through, but they offer a different angle on things. So what was he saying? Oh yeah, the first line of defence. So basically they overwhelmed this. I haven't really read all of them, but I just want to sort of get through a bit more of this one. The Iraqi troops, he said, offered no real resistance and fled, leaving hundreds of pairs of boots behind them. As you do. The officer's reports on the Iraqi infantry's apparent lack of fighting spirit seemed to confirm earlier film on Iranian television showing Iraqi positions taken by Iranian troops, showing no visible signs of battle, etc., etc. And there's a little map, and there's Al-Qurna there, and then there's Basra there, and obviously Kurshama, and there's the points of attack as detailed in that newspaper. And so there's Al-Qurna just in there, and Basra down here. So they go down here, they also take that. I haven't really put all the mechanised stuff over there, but what I have sort of done tentatively is I've reduced the sort of the range of the artillery. I suspect it could possibly reach a little further, but the issue is you might want to sort of spend your first turn or two as the Iranian player modifying where your main armoured elements are, because you might want to sort of suddenly swing them over here and then move that way. And you could sort of maybe make an in-house rule that the Iraqi player can't move any units at all until the Iranian player moves forward and makes an advance, because they could be moving units around all over the place. Another thing that's important and key to note, and I've put some more in, are these little engineering units. And these are, I've used Pasadan, but I think there are some more somewhere else that are actually, I think they're all Pasadan. Oh no, here's some Basij engineers. Now basically, there's a lot of hoo-ha about the fact that a lot of these were children, and that they were sending children out to clear the minefields, because that's what these are for. So these are minefields here. But I don't think they were. I've read other accounts, and it basically said that they had so many Basij and Pasadan units, Pastaran units, that they didn't have guns for everyone, and the people who didn't have guns went forward to clear the minefields. That's what I read, and basically I think that somewhere along the lines there's probably been some reports of children doing that, because children would probably be pretty good at doing that, and they certainly would be a little more brave to, I mean, just one thing about young people in war, I certainly wouldn't do it because I know a bit too much. But if I was 14, I'd probably thought it was a fantastic challenge. Yeah, I can do that. go out and clear the mines out. But anyways, it doesn't matter. The point is, you could spend basically manoeuvring things. So you might want to manoeuvre your engineers to the point where you want to just throw them out here, clear these minefields. You can't clear the obstacles, because I haven't got that in yet, but maybe later. But you clear the minefields and then you can pull through there. Now what you'll notice is that there are no empty gaps, but there are some empty gaps sort of here and there. For example, there's no minefields there, and this is so that it's a bit of a sort of swings and roundabouts sort of situation, because although these are obviously Iraqi defences, I can't really say, oh, well, the Iraqi units can go through, because I can't specify this as an Iraqi defence. I mean, I suppose I could do something along the lines, but you know, it's basically an obstruction, a set of obstructions, and it's going to affect anyone passing through it, including the mines. But they're there so that you can at least get through here without going through minefields. Now, the only other thing about the minefields is you might sort of think, well, I mean, maybe I shouldn't tell you, but they're not very dense. Only dense one dense factor. So you could find that you're not really going to get damaged enough going through them. Basically, you will get damaged, but maybe not that much. It still hasn't really been played. I'm not even going to bother playing it. It's just far too big. But I really like looking at it, and I would love to just sort of have the time to sort of actually start playing it properly. You know, actually, doing some preliminary moves and trying to figure out what's what and what can go where. And I've put these passage units, who are essentially regiments, just like the Pastaran units, back here. There's some there, and I think there's some further down here, and I think there's another block somewhere here. There they are. They're there. So because basically you've got the choice is up to you, really. Because in theory you've got to say, well, okay, we've got to keep our defensive line. You can't just charge everyone forward. But you might want to concatenate this line and push it sort of further down this way. And these units are basically here to allow you the flexibility to defend this line, you know, as you might do in sort of, in a role play, because you don't want the Iraqi sort of actually, you come down here and say, well, okay, fine, we'll fight you down here and we'll send all our units through this empty space that you've left. So that's what these are for. So they're not really designed to move forward and fight. They're just there to sort of bolster up your sort of defences. And a lot of these things are stuck in just big piles. I think this one here is the whole division all in one pile. So there's a lot of units there. It's massive. I mean, there's massive amounts of units here. There's 2 in each of these spaces, and as I say, there's engineers here, engineers there. So you might want to sort of think about where you're going to want to deploy your engineers to get rid of the minefields at the very least. Unfortunately, you can't get rid of the obstructions, as I said. But I think in theory you should be able to get through this. Now, the Iraqi infantry is all sort of doubled up. I did toy with the idea of, instead of having 2 in there, having 1 there and 1 there, because if you fire artillery onto that, you'll get both of them. I mean, 12 in there is pretty tough, but I've elected, because it's a bit easier to sort of propagate the units, just doubling them up in there. So, and obviously you've not got 2 rows here, but you've got the river there. But essentially you might want to sort of fall back with some of these. You've got a few forward artillery positions, but they're only sort of battalion level, so there, and I think there's another one down here. But you've got some pretty hefty artillery, regimental level artillery units. And I've not connected them with units, but this would in theory be with the 5th Division. And so they're set back a bit behind this sort of the infantry, and they've only got 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now again, I've done that to sort of segment, because I think the artillery is going to be the most powerful feature of all. Another very, very interesting part of this is the air power. I'm not sure how balanced out it all is. So you've got some Iranian F4s. It said Phantoms, and I think the F stands for Phantom. I don't know, but anyway, you've got some Iranian aircraft, and they didn't have as many, and I don't know exactly what the sort of status was, but there we go. Let's get this over here. It said yeah, blah blah blah. The Iraqis use their M25, Mi-25 helicopters, so I've put these in there. They're not too strong with their hunter-killer teams of helicopters. Blah blah blah. Aerial dogfights occurred between Iraqi MiGs and Iranian Phantoms during this battle. The Iraqis also made first significant use of chemical weapons. I don't know why it's all in the same quote. I haven't got chemical weapons here, but I think basically when it says chemical weapons, maybe we should have a look back at that, it actually, I think what they were referring to was the use of non-lethal tear gas, and that's what they were using. And to be quite honest, it's not something I've considered. I mean, I did sort of consider it when I read it, and this, I might have to go back and say, well, how can I do that? I mean, I've got the chemical weapons unit, so I can fairly easily deploy them, and they're basically artillery, but they're just very, very strong. So, and then there's the Iraqi MiG-21s, and so, and to be quite honest, I think they could do with a few more, because the Iraqi should have the edge. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the Iranians have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're stronger. 3, 3, 2, 2. So I'll have to go back and sort of knock the give the Iraqi ones a few more. But basically, what you'll get to do is to have a you'll be able to fight for air superiority. So I think that will be pretty exciting. So let's just go into play mode. So there's the Iranian air power. I'm going to increase that, and so obviously I've got this. I haven't even mentioned this on any videos yet, but that's where you put the units. Just because if you put them there, nothing happens. If you put them on there, obviously that's the air superiority. I might put a few more in there. I haven't really sort of balanced that out yet. But that's pretty much it. I don't want to start sort of playing it just yet. I'm not sure whether there's any other sort of major notes to sort of note here. But what I will do, and I've shown you the map already, but basically they come down this way, and apparently they sort of come down this way. But now the reports are all very difficult, and I think this is more of a feigning assault. And the thing is, they try on the 16th, and then they try on the 22nd, and they have multiple attacks, and they keep trying, and they keep losing, and thousands of people die. They lose hundreds of tanks, and it's incredibly complex. So I'm sort of not sure whether to just say this is the first day, or just because you can't sort of say, well, you would have had a second day, because if you win on the first day, you wouldn't have a second day or a second offensive. And I'm pretty sure this is not going to go as it did historically in any regard. So I'm not really too worried about trying to model, the sort of spread of the combat over, the sorts of 2 or 3 weeks that it took place over. But those are the sort of the 2 key assaults. And so, how you do it is up to you. So you might want to sort of take the time to move some of your armoured units over there, etc., etc. I mean, the only other thing to sort of maybe note is the placement of units. Now, basically, I don't know where units were or where they came from or anything like that, other than I've got a few books here. For example, I'm referring to, obviously there's newspaper reports, but I've got the Iran-Iraq War by Pierre Razal. I've got the other book, the Iran-Iraq War by William Murray and Kevin M. Woods. And I've also got the, and I don't want to open it here, but it's basically a very well known book about the whole Iran-Iraq War. It's a big red one, and you can buy them for $20, and it's a bit much for me, so I've got a PDF copy, and I've got that as well. And obviously I've got the Wikipedia. But basically, through my notes, I've managed to sort of determine that there's lots of units, and that's 15 minutes up. but these units